Well, thank you very much, Ed, for that lovely introduction. And it is actually true. I do remember when he pointed that out, we immediately went, well, we're just going to have to do 50 plus 1 the next time we play around with our cabinet, which we did. So you can take some responsibility for that. So good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to all of our many, many distinguished guests. I am very much delighted to be able to be here today to join you for this year's Lougheed Awards ceremony on Treaty 7 land. So I want to thank the Public Policy Forum itself for hosting this wonderful event and for bringing everyone together to celebrate some outstanding Western Canadians. All of tonight's honorees have a record of exceptional achievement. These are individuals who've spent their careers strengthening our part of this great country by building up its people, its institutions, its communities, and its economy. Whether in the public or the private sector, they each have a strong and clear vision of Western Canada's vast potential. And they've taken on the responsibilities and pressures of leadership to deliver on that vision in each of their own unique ways. So it's only fitting that we honor them with a distinction named for another very, very great Western Canadian, a person who, of course, embodies all of those qualities and attributes. And I just need to diverge a little bit from my comments here. It's great that we're here at this Public Policy Forum because I'm sure that this is a forum within which, when people come together, we learn that good public policy, when done right, often crosses partisan boundaries, and that is the opportunity for us to do the best for the community, the country, the province, the city, the institution within which we operate, and that's what good public policy should look like. And so, as Edward reminded you, of course, my father spent his whole career in opposition to Peter Lougheed, but I do believe with absolute conviction that were he still alive, he would be the first to acknowledge and indeed honor the many, many significant public policy achievements of Peter Lougheed that, of course, have earned him the name for this award tonight. He's truly earned his place in the pantheon of Canada's nation builders. So much of what makes Alberta such an incredible province started during Peter Lougheed's tenure as Premier. He placed great value on the importance of a long-range plan for economic development. It was on his watch that the oil sands began to thrive as the province partnered with industry to come up with solutions for extracting an unconventional resource. Same was the case with the creation of the Heritage Fund to bank a portion of those revenues for the future. And aware that Albertans couldn't and shouldn't rely on oil and gas forever, he also emphasized diversification by requiring natural gas producers to keep feedstock and the jobs that come with it in Alberta. He enhanced the flourishing of our petrochemical sector. The creation of the Alberta Opportunity Company and VENCAP enabled businesses to get the investment they needed for their promising ideas. And work was done to improve Alberta's market access, a kind of topical issue these days, going so far as to fund a grain terminal in BC to ensure farmers were connected to international customers. However, Premier Lougheed did not let his focus on the economy blind him to the environmental costs of growth and the environmental responsibilities that come with growth. He strove to balance development with environmental protection, for instance, better creating significantly improved funding for an expanded park system. And one of the outcomes of that, of course, is the provincial park that bears his name in our iconic Kananaskis country. And even after his retirement, he remained a determined advocate for the environment, insisting that Alberta and Albertans treat our water as its most critical resource. He also had tremendous respect for our post-secondary institutions. He made long-lasting investments and introduced some of the most generous supports for students in the country at the time, helping more Albertans get a great post-secondary education by focusing on growing the accessibility of that education. So those same priorities and that same vision for a strong, inclusive, and diversified Alberta helped to drive what our government does today. Alberta's long-term challenges persist, even as the world changes around us. Albertans still rely on an export-driven energy sector, and we will for a long time. Albertans are highly skilled and highly educated, and we need to stay that way to keep an important part of our competitive edge. Environmental protections are more urgent than ever with the threat of climate change mounting. And the task for us, as it was in the past, is to strike the right balance. And it's a balance that we have worked very hard to strike, with a focus on working families, good jobs, and a strong and diversified provincial economy. Alberta's Climate Leadership Plan puts a price on carbon, a cap on oil sands emissions, with incentives built in for producers to develop and deploy cleaner technology. At the same time, it recognizes that Alberta's energy industry competes across the world and must remain globally competitive. So I'm hugely grateful for industry's willingness to work to reduce their emissions and to work with our government on this plan, and for their support in making what is a truly made in Alberta plan that more and more is becoming a country-leading and continent-leading plan. The other option, of course, would have been to have a climate change plan imposed on us by Ottawa, and it goes without saying, especially at an event that bears Premier Lougheed's name, how that kind of thing might have gone over in Alberta. I would suggest not well. But it is, on the flip side, perhaps not ironic but interesting, it's on the basis of our Made in Alberta plan that Prime Minister Trudeau gave approval of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, a critical piece of energy infrastructure, and one that will strengthen Alberta's economy, the broader Canadian economy, and will create thousands of good jobs for people here in Alberta, in BC, and across the country. But that's not the only way that we are working to build on some of the best of the Lougheed legacy. Creating good jobs in the petrochemical sector and diversifying our economy is a must, and it's something that we must continue to work on. And that's why we recently introduced a petrochemical diversification program. And we've now got 2 applications for new plants that have been approved, representing $6 billion in new investment, creating thousands of good jobs, and just thousands of good jobs. And finally, we are investing in our post-secondary system. And while many of our opponents seem a little bit skeptical sometimes of our universities or the experts who work in them, we are supporting our post-secondary institutions with stable, predictable funding. We're also investing in apprenticeships, and we've frozen tuition. Once again, we're returning to a time where accessibility for our post-secondary institutions is something that will grow and lead the country, helping more Albertans get the education that they need to build great lives for themselves and the people they love. So Alberta's not alone in facing enduring challenges, and governments are not alone in addressing them. It takes talented, hardworking people from all backgrounds to build the kind of prosperous, healthy, and tolerant society that we all truly want to see. This year's Lougheed Award recipients have distinguished themselves by doing exactly that. They've lived up to the highest standard, a standard set by a thoughtful and far-sighted Albertan leader whose legacy we honor today. I want to offer my congratulations again to tonight's award winners, Melissa, Chuck, Steve, and I know Barb. I don't know if she's watching, but Barb, yeah. Anyway, I wish you all the best. I offer you my greatest congratulations and my gratitude for your work, and I wish you many, many more years of great achievements. Your accomplishments have served and will continue to serve all of Western Canada well. So thank you very much. And thank all of you for coming out tonight.